This is the Lesson 1 Read Aloud, Up, Up, and Away. Wings that work. Have you ever wished you could fly? Think about all the things you could do. You could visit the birds roosting in the top of a tree. You could say hello to the window washer on the side of a skyscraper. You could see whole towns stretched out below you, just like looking at a map. People have dreamed of flight for as long as we have been around. Many myths and legends, or imaginary stories people tell about the past, feature people who learned to fly. In Greece, there was the story of Daedalus. Daedalus was an inventor who created a set of wings to escape from a wicked king who had trapped him in a tower. Daedalus created 2 sets of wings made of wax, one for himself and one for his son Icarus. Daedalus escaped, but Icarus was not so lucky. He flew too high, and the heat of the sun melted his wings. Even in ancient times, people knew flying was not easy. The myth of Daedalus shows us that people knew birds' wings had something to do with flying. What they may not have known is why. Birds fly because of something called lift. A wing is shaped like a curve. Lift happens when air moves quickly over the curve of a bird's wing, which causes the air beneath the wing to push upward. It is easy for birds because they are born with wings. But it is not so easy for humans to create lift. To understand how to create it, imagine that you are a cook and you want to make cookies. You would need ingredients or things to cook together into something else. In this case, butter, flour, eggs, and of course chocolate chips. And you would need a recipe or a way to cook the ingredients to make something to eat from them. In this case, mix them all together, shape them into cookies, put them in the hot oven for about 10 minutes, and presto, cookies. If you have both ingredients and a recipe, you can make something. Do you think that is just true for cooking or for everything? Exactly. It is not true for just cooking, but for everything we can make. Lift has a recipe too, and it has 2 ingredients. One is strong wind. The shape and strength of a wing determines or controls the amount of lift you can create from it. It is just the same as how the amount of flour you have determines how many cookies you can make. If you have just 1 cup of flour, you cannot make as many cookies as you could if you have a whole pound of flour. The stronger the wing is, the more lift you can get from it. That is one ingredient. Can you guess the other? Here's the hint. Have you ever been out on a windy day with an umbrella and seen the wind blow the umbrella up? That happens because wind is moving over the umbrella is fast enough to create a lot of lift under it. And that is the second ingredient of lift. The faster you can make air move over a wing, the more lift you create. So those are the 2 basic ingredients of lift. You need a strong wing, and you will need a way to move air over it very quickly. Anyone who knew the myth of Daedalus and watched birds flying understood a little bit of this. But the trick was to find the right recipe to turn those 2 ingredients into wings that worked. And no one understood that for a long time. One of the first working wings appeared in China around the year 320 CE, over 1,700 years ago. And surprisingly, it was a toy. Here is a bamboo helicopter, or a bamboo copter. It has 2 long blades attached to a stick. When you twirl the stick of a bamboo copter, it moves air over the blades. Take a look at the shape of the blades. It is the same shape of a bird's wing. By twirling a bamboo copter, you are moving air over the blades and you are creating lift. It is not a huge amount of lift, just as much as your hands can create, but the bamboo copter is small, so it does not need much lift to send it soaring. It is literally child's play. But a bamboo copter was not strong enough to carry a person up into the air. Instead, people tried other experiments. Maybe they reasoned there was a way to fly without using wings at all. This man, Joseph Montgolfier, was an inventor who lived in France in the 1700s, about 300 years after Leonardo da Vinci. One day, while he was watching small pieces of paper floating in a fireplace, he observed or noticed that the sheets closest to the fire were blowing upward from hot air. If the heat was making the sheet pull itself into the air, was there a way to pull other things into the air too? Joseph kept trying his ideas in bigger and bigger ways, carefully experimenting until he and his brother hit on the idea of shaping the sheets into a cloth balloon and heating the air beneath it. They tested their theory by building a massive cloth balloon. When they lit the burner to heat the air, though, the balloon flew away without them. As they watched it slowly disappear in the distance, the brothers knew they were onto something. The brothers attached baskets strong enough to carry people to the bottom of their balloons, and more people were flying every day. Soon, hot air balloons filled the skies above France. But balloons could only take you so high and so far. Because of this, many serious inventors kept trying to find wings that worked. As they continued working on the problem for years, in the end, over 100 years after the Montgolfiers, technology, or the kinds of machines and tools that people have to help solve problems, kept getting better. As technology got better, people slowly realized that they could probably make vehicles for flying, or aircraft, that would go fast enough and be strong enough to fly. Inventors started building flying machines that could go very high and very fast, but they ran into a problem. Think back to Montgolfier's hot air balloon and to the bamboo copter. Both of them could fly, but both of them flew away. That was fine when someone wasn't riding in them, but people were starting to realize that the problem wasn't just creating lift, you also had to be able to steer. Here are two brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright. They ran a bicycle shop in a place called Dayton, Ohio in the early 1900s. The Wrights believed that they could make wings that worked, but they also thought that other inventors were looking in the wrong place. Lots of inventors thought that if you could just build an engine that was powerful enough, they could make an aircraft go fast enough to remain stable in the sky. But the Wright brothers decided not to worry about speed. Their aircraft would use no motor at all, only wind, just like a bird. The Wright brothers kept studying birds and they kept studying bicycles. Exactly. You lean into the turn. By leaning into the turn, you help the bike stay balanced. Orville and Wilbur noticed that birds were leaning when they wanted to turn in the air. The Wright brothers started to experiment with that idea. Soon they had built a glider, or a kind of aircraft that flies without an engine, that had flexible wings. That let the Wright brothers use instruments to carefully control how much lift was on each wing. If a pilot turned the controls to move the left wing so that it had more lift than the right wing, that would start to tilt the airplane upward to the left, which would make the airplane turn. That meant that, even without an engine, a pilot had control over an airplane. Airplanes today still use controls based on the Wright brothers' designs. We have learned a lot from birds, and people use aircraft to fly all over the world. Jet engines let us fly farther and faster than ever across oceans, over mountains, and far above the clouds. With rockets, we can even fly into space. But we are still dreaming of flying higher. People are still asking just how far and how high we can go. It is the same question the Wright brothers asked, and the Montgolfiers, and the children playing with bamboo copters, and the unknown author of the myth of Daedalus. All of us still dream of wings that work.